How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck and other gaming handhelds. Look, I'm gonna level with you. I'm at 42,000 subscribers. I've got a silver play button for my channel PS Ready, but this is my hobby, my love, my favorite channel to work on. I would love to get it to 100,000 subscribers, and I just checked and like 80% of the people who watch aren't subscribed. So whether you're new here or you've been watching for a while, help me out and subscribe and set your notifications to all. All right, that's all the YouTube stuff out of the way. In this video, I've got three great topics to cover. The first one is that Xbox is definitely making a handheld, and Phil Spencer dropped some hints that are really promising. The second news story is that the Steam Deck competition out there is just definitely missing the point. And the third story is a tale of trials and tribulations with the 2006 Gears of War PC port that led me to playing one of the best games I've played on Steam Deck in a long time. This video is sponsored by Raycon. You may have caught some of my other sponsorships from Raycon and thought, wait, the same audio quality I get from the big guys for half the price? That sounds pretty good. But whether you didn't pull the trigger at the time or you did pull the trigger and you're in the market for another pair because they're just that good, now is the time to grab a pair of Raycons. These everyday earbuds have been upgraded with awesome features like active noise cancellation, ergonomic design, and multi-point connection, so you can connect to two devices at once. And they're available in a wide variety of colors that complement any skin tone. My favorite color for anything is black, as you guys know, but they also sent over this cool marble textured case for the Raycons to protect them, and I think I'm gonna leave it on. I actually have a lot of trouble getting earbuds to stay in my ears, but the optimized gel tips combined with that ergonomic fit mean these stay in perfectly and they're really comfortable. The active noise cancellation came in clutch on my flight to LA last week. It worked great. And they also have quick charging, which is one of my favorite features in any electronic device. If you've watched this channel or my channel PS Ready before, you know I have an addiction to buying earbuds, but where these really stand out is comfort. You can wear them for a long time and they don't hurt your ears. And like I mentioned earlier, they stay in, which is the best possible thing an earbud can do. Seriously, if you've ever thought about checking out Raycons, there has never been a better time. Once you put these upgraded versions in your ears, you'll be like, dang, why didn't I check them out sooner? And the best part is they offer a 30-day happiness guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Check out the link in the description. Click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/deckready and you'll get 15% off your purchase and free shipping. Once again, huge shout out to Raycon for sponsoring this video. So let's jump into this first news story here. There have been rumors going around for a while now that Xbox is working on a handheld of their own, and it makes sense, right? Like Nintendo, they went from having the Wii U and the 3DS, they converged everything into having the Nintendo Switch, where it's a console you can dock at home or take on the go. Most people, I would guess, play that thing on the go because stretching out a maybe 1080p image on a 4K TV just doesn't look great. It's good enough, right? Like I played Mario Wonder on my TV with my Switch Pro controller. I had Indiana Jones style like blow dust off of it, and it was cool, but like when I play Nintendo Switch, I'm on the go. Sony used to be in the handheld market. They had the PSP, then they had the Vita, and the Vita didn't do that well, so they kind of got out of it. Now they have the PlayStation Portal, but they're allegedly also working on their own handheld that's going to come out in the next couple of years because it's in the high-level design phase over at Sony. Then, of course, we have the Steam Deck, which is amazing. It's my favorite handheld ever made. It's a perfect emulation machine. You can take full-on PlayStation games on the go. You can basically play pretty much everything on it. You know that if you're watching this channel. So Xbox, with their hardware woes and everything and their connection to Microsoft, it just makes a lot of sense for them to be working on a handheld. So after the Xbox showcase, which I was thankfully invited to, Phil Spencer did an interview with IGN and they specifically asked about the handheld. And you know, I hate reading quotes on this channel, but this one's short, so I'm just gonna read you exactly what he said. First, he was asked about hardware. You know, the whole hardware situation with Xbox is weird right now, but they did announce like a refresh completely across the board at that showcase. There's the 2TB special edition Xbox Series X with a disk drive that looks awesome. I got to see it in person. They also have the white Series X with no disk drive. That's a non-starter for me. And then they have like a sort of like gray off-white Series S that looks pretty good. And from what I'm hearing, they're going to kill off the carbon black Series S they released last year with 1TB of storage. So they do have hardware out, but in response to a question about the future of hardware, this is what he had to say. The future for us in hardware is pretty awesome. The work that the team is doing around the different form factors, different ways to play, I'm incredibly excited about. Today was about the games, but we will have a time to come out and talk more about platform, and we can't wait to bring it to you. So then the interviewer, who I'm pretty sure was Ryan McCaffrey over at IGN, he followed up with a question about the handheld and whether or not it would be like the PlayStation Portal, a console you can take on the go and interact with xCloud with, or something like the Steam Deck where you can locally play games. And he said, I think being able to play games locally is very important. And you know what? I got a little bit of beef once in a while with Phil Spencer, his whole doomerism around consoles and saying that there shouldn't be exclusives on anything and like the console market is only 150 50 million people, even though there's like verifiable data to suggest that that's not the case. Then he's always talking about how making great games isn't enough to save a platform, when obviously, if you look at PlayStation's success, that's just not true. But this is something that I totally agree with when Phil Spencer says it. Yes, if you're making a handheld, you need it to play games locally. Like, that should be the bare minimum bar that they have to clear, and that's like a floor level bar. I feel like that's the first thing you think of when you go into a handheld like this. And for Steam Deck owners, obviously this is a little bit weird, because why would you want to buy an Xbox handheld if you already have a Steam Deck? There are a few reasons why though. First of all, being able to take your entire Xbox library on the go is very enticing to people. If people have Game Pass, it's less enticing, obviously, because you don't own any of those games. But if you're someone who played on the Xbox One, you got an Xbox One X, and then when Game Pass came out, you were like, I'm not feeling it. I'm just going to buy my games a la carte because I don't really play all that many games on Xbox. You know, you slowly amass a pretty big digital library. And of course, the Steam Deck does not have a real way to interact with those games. You can play them through xCloud streaming, but it's just not really a good thing to do. I mean, like, streaming's cool. I know people love streaming from their PC to their Steam Deck. That's about as far as I'll take it. The local network works fine, but like in 99% of cases, I think the best way to play, even if you get reduced performance, is to just take games on the go and be able to play them outside your house on your Xbox handheld or your Steam Deck. So if you have this massive Xbox library, it could be enticing for you to pick up whatever this Xbox handheld ends up being, right? And the competition factor is really good, right? Like, Valve is at the top of the hill. We're going to talk about that in the second news story a little bit more, but like when it comes to gaming handhelds, Valve and Switch are like the two big ones that everyone cares about. Obviously, the Switch sells orders of magnitude more than the Valve Steam Deck, but like at the end of the day, if you think of a gaming handheld, you're not thinking of the PS Portal, you're not thinking of like the Zotac Zone, or even really the ROG Ally. What you think of is the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch, and probably very soon the Nintendo Switch too. So there's not too much competition in the field that really would light a fire under Valve's ass to get going on the Steam Deck 2, which I personally really want. All the rumors about this Sony handheld are that you're going to be able to take PlayStation 4 games on the go. It's just going to be able to play PS4 games across the entire market that's available. That's obviously really exciting to me, because if you didn't know, I have a channel called PS Ready where I talk about PlayStation all the time. I have a massive digital library on PlayStation, and until they implement some feature that allows me to transfer my saves, I'm kind of out on buying PlayStation games on Steam, because I beat all these games on PS5, and when they're 50-hour open world epics like Ghost of Tsushima, the idea of starting that over, especially when there's so many other games out there that I haven't played, it makes me not really want to double dip. But if Sony implements some sort of save transferring feature like they were supposed to in Helldivers 2, that would be awesome. I would just take more games on the go and I would buy them on Steam again, just to get the experience of being able to transfer my save. And with an Xbox handheld, you would get that feature as well if you play games through Game Pass or the Xbox app. But because Xbox is allegedly going in the direction of making their next console basically a tiny PC that runs games at specific settings, their other rumor is that Steam is going to be available on that Xbox. So I would assume that that would also be the case for this handheld. And then that really provides competition for Valve, because not only are you able to natively play Steam games, which is awesome, you're also natively able to play Xbox games. And then that could get Valve kind of talking to Microsoft, being like, look, what kind of deal do we have to make to get the Xbox app working on Linux? Because it really shouldn't be that hard at the end of the day. I actually got to have lunch with Phil Spencer a little over a year ago, and everyone else was asking him questions like, oh, are you like happy with the game performance and everything? I went for the throat, baby. I was like, why doesn't this Xbox app work on Linux? And he basically told me that Valve was the one getting in the way. And then I followed up asking him why, when you get a game like Forza Horizon 5 on Steam, you still have to log into the Xbox server, but you can't transfer your saves back and forth with Xbox like you can with the Xbox app PC version of Forza Horizon 5. And once again, he blamed Valve, which is like, it frustrates me because that's just not true, right? Because there's plenty of other Xbox games where you can transfer game saves between your PC version on Steam and your Xbox Series X version. It's just like a weird roadblock there. So hopefully if Valve kind of sees a little bit of competition coming up on the horizon from Xbox, they do some legwork and go talk to them and say, hey, let's figure this out. Let's figure out how to fix whatever coding issue or whatever issue you think is our fault to get these games to be able to save transfer over to Xbox. And with all that being said, I know you don't really need an Xbox dedicated handheld right now because of course we have the Legion Go, we have the ROG Ally, and upcoming is the ROG Ally X. I don't think a lot of hardcore fans are going to be too interested in buying the Ally right now because of the massive warranty controversy Asus is in, but like, that's a very solid console. I was talking to the guys on the Nerd Nest podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the Ally X. Everyone said it looked and felt good, and I was like, I have not really touched my Ally in a while, and I've been wanting to play the Gears of War games, and really the only way to do it effectively is to play on the ROG Ally. I've been playing a few games on it, like Forza Horizon, and getting the Ultimate Edition of Gears up and running on there, and it is a really good handheld, so you can kind of see where Microsoft is heading in terms of having their own dedicated Xbox handheld, even if at the end of the day it's just a reference device for other manufacturers to kind of like look at and then copy for their own product. I think it's a good thing overall to see more of these manufacturers jumping into the handheld ring, because when I was growing up, I loved handhelds. I had a PSP with multiple battery packs. I had a Game Boy Advance SP. I used to play it at swim meets all the time, or when my brother had baseball tournaments. And that's why I love the Steam Deck so much, because it like allows me to take all of these consoles from my childhood, like the PSP, the PS1, the PS2, the Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS, anything really from my childhood. I can cram it all into the Steam Deck, and it doesn't break a sweat. You get insane battery life emulating games, and it's awesome. So yeah, I'm always excited about new handhelds, but you guys know my ride or die is the Steam Deck, man. They're gonna have to do a lot of work to get me to jump off that platform, but I don't think it's this fool's errand or anything for them to chase that handheld golden egg, because everyone loves handhelds, right? Like, it's a smaller user base than what you get out of something like the PS5 for sure, but it doesn't really matter if every game sale on it is through Steam, or you have a bigger console at home that plays the same games. Like, you're still going to be purchasing games on your home console, and if you're able to take them on the go, that makes buying the handheld hardware that much more enticing. Anyway, that brings us to the second news story of today's video, which is kind of like a higher level point that I've come to after watching all of these Windows handhelds being announced during Computex, but one really stood out to me. So there's a company called AData or AData, I don't really know how to say it, and they have a prototype handheld that's called the XPG, and the difference between this thing and the Steam Deck, of course, is it has a lot of moddable parts. So they're using this new type of RAM called CAM, and it's called CAM, and basically what it is a module where all the RAM is already soldered on, so you basically only have to take out one screw and then you can just slot in the new RAM hardware, so you can then upgrade the RAM of your handheld very easily. And because it's so thin and light, it doesn't add that much space to the overall chassis, which, you know, if you're building a handheld, you want to reduce the space that's taken up by the components as much as possible. It also has a much easier SSD to replace than the Steam Deck, and that's all cool, right? Like, from a hardware perspective, I can see why that's enticing, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I think that's like missing the point of what makes the Steam Deck so great, and that's the fact that it is a handheld gaming PC for sure, but it really does do a great job of splitting the difference between a console and a PC. Like, you can go into the desktop mode, you can install older games if they work right, and you can use Wine and Proton Tricks and Proton Up QT to get Proton GE, and you can get as deep as you want on the Linux side of it. But on the other hand, you can also just boot up your Steam Deck into game mode, never touch the desktop mode, not even know it's there, and you'll still get a great experience playing Steam games on the go. And there's a lot of cool stuff that I think people take for granted with the Steam Deck, like the fact that all the games are digital, but you're still able to take them on the go without checking DRM every time you boot up the game. I've been having a massive problem on my launch PS5 where something is weird with my internet. Even though I have gigabit, I have Wi-Fi range extenders all over my house. Like, anywhere in my entire house, you're going to get at least 700 down and around 300 to 500 up at any given time. I mean, in the basement, it's 1 gig up, 1 gig down. It's great. I love being down here, but my PS5 upstairs, it has issues where with digital games, every time I launch a game, it has to check the license. And if the internet's being weird with how it interacts with the PS5, then I've been kicked out of games multiple times where it'll be like, hey, we can't verify this license, so if you don't figure that out in the next 10 minutes, the game is going to quit, so you better save now. And that's extremely frustrating. But on the Steam Deck, which arguably has a much more lockdown platform, forcing you to play games through Steam for the most part, yeah, it works incredibly well. Now, obviously, that's not perfect. With launchers like EA's launcher, I ran into this issue when I was just flying back from LA. I've been playing Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered from 2010 on my Steam Deck, and because I'm cheap, I flew Spirit and my plane was not equipped with Wi-Fi, I tried to boot up that and then Burnout Paradise, and I got the EA launcher and I couldn't play the game on the go. So even though Steam provides the ability to play games offline on the go, when you have to deal with launchers from companies like like EA and Ubisoft on top of that Steam layer, it can cause problems. But for the most part, every other game, like I booted up Doom Eternal, for example, that just worked fine because it doesn't have a launcher and I can play it through Steam perfectly. And the biggest point I think these hardware manufacturers are missing is you want to get as many people in as possible. And I know we all love tinkering with PCs. I know we all love changing out the hardware, like the RAM and the graphics card and the CPU and X, Y, and Z. But like there's a lot of people out there who want to play games at a performance level better than the Nintendo Switch, but they don't want to deal with having to go in and rip out an SSD and put in a new one. I mean, how many horror stories are there out there of guys who don't cycle the battery down and make sure that it's totally powered off and then unplug it before they replace their SSD in their Steam Deck, and then lo and behold, the thing starts smoking because they touch metal to metal and the battery and then the motherboard are fried. There are plenty of stories out there like that, and I'd say I'm like a little bit above a layman, but I'm not necessarily like the most technologically advanced person out there. I was able to figure it out, but like I have like 1% above the skill I think you need to really feel safe doing this stuff. And when you want to capture that bigger audience, you got to make sure the experience is going to be simple out of the box. And while the Steam Deck, when it came out, it was a little rough. You know, it had to update pretty much every day. You'd have a lot of games crashing. There were some black screen issues. 2 years later, when we've got the Steam Deck OLED, if you grab that thing, you're just good to go, especially if you grab the 1TB model, or even if you get the 256 gig model, you can just grab a 1TB SD card. And yeah, your games are going to take a little bit longer to patch, but there's so many avenues with the Steam Deck for ease of use that overcomplicating it with these Windows handhelds creates a barrier that I don't think these manufacturers are really taking into account. When I was reading these articles, I got a little misty just because the Steam Deck is a console that you always want in your head, but you never think will come to reality. It's kind of like that new Gears E-Day trailer. Like, I like Gears 5, I like Gears 4. I think they were a bad direction for the series as a whole. I think they kind of veered off from their core audience and they were punished correctly for it, if you're asking me. So I've always kind of wanted them to go back and rediscover what made Gears Gears, and then seeing that E-Day trailer, and it's just perfect. It's exactly what I want. It's just like something I never expected. And that's kind of how I've always felt ever since the Steam Deck was announced. I literally thought it was an April Fool's joke when I saw the trailer go up on IGN for this thing while I was driving out to my studio when I lived in LA. I was like, there's no way this thing is real. I didn't truly believe that it was a real product until I was holding it in my hands when I did like the third video on this channel. And it still, to this day, feels like something truly special that it's like lightning in a bottle, really. And I don't think these other hardware manufacturers are chasing the right carrot when they don't go for the Steam Deck's crown. They try to do something totally different and capture the same audience, and it's very easy to see why that's not necessarily working up until this point. So yeah, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. If you love the Windows handhelds, like, more power to you. You're probably a lot smarter than me for sure, and you just might enjoy tinkering with products more than you enjoy playing games. And again, more power to you. But yeah, it just got me thinking about what the philosophy is behind something like the Steam Deck and how different it is from these gaming Windows handhelds. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And that brings us to the third news story here, which is about Gears of War. I was just talking about E-Day, how I was misty in the theater when I got to see that trailer and how happy I was, and I really wanted to go back and play the original Gears of War games. They're very seminal for me. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I started getting into the books and everything recently, and I've just been having a lot of fun with it. So when I was looking at my options for playing Gears of War, I really wanted to take the first game on the Steam Deck. So I was thinking in my head, oh, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, that remake they did a few years ago, that's on PC. Turns out it's only a Universal Windows platform game, so you can't run it on the Steam Deck. So that one's out, unless you're, of course, dual booting into Windows, but I'm not doing that. So then I was like, oh, Gears 5, that's available on Steam. Oh, it's Gears 5, by the way. It's not Gears of War 5. Remember that distinction. They went ahead and changed the title, which is another incredibly stupid move, if you ask me. I like that game. I think the multiplayer is good. I like the extraction mode, and the Hivebusters campaign is awesome, but I just wasn't into going back because that's the one I played the most recently. So I was like, oh, I haven't played Gears 4 in a while. Another Universal Windows platform game. So all of that led me to the 2006 port of Gears of War to PC. I have that game on DVD, and I thought it'd be very simple to just install it on my Windows PC and then drag the files over to an SSD and then put it on my Steam Deck and then install it, and I'd be ready to go. I found a YouTube video that explained the whole process. It was great. It got me through everything. And then I found this error where when I try to start the game through Steam, it asks for a DVD. Now look, I know there's no CD cracks out there. You can get them. It's just like those torrent sites really scare me. I don't want to screw up my main Windows PC to play a game from 2006 2006. So I figured, oh, I'll go on the tutorial video and ask the guy, hey, how did you get this to work without a CD? And the guy is like being willfully misleading. And when people ask about it, he says, well, I installed it from the DVD. Clearly that's not true, because if you install it from the DVD, it asks you for the DVD when you want to start the game up. He's not sharing whatever sauce he's got that lets this work without a CD. So I gave up, guys. I spent like 4.5 hours on it. I was going to do a whole video on like playing Gears of War 2006 on the Steam Deck and how awesome it is, because when you look on YouTube, there's all this footage in 800p, 60 frames per second. It looks amazing, but I just don't get to have that experience because I can't figure out how to play this game without a DVD. So then I was just looking through the Gears games on Steam, and I saw that Gears Tactics is $6. I looked it up on Reddit, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are playing this game or did play this game. If you're an old Gears fan, this game is incredible, man. It feels like the old Gears games. It's still got a little bit of that Marvel-y humor writing, but it's just a badass story about two dudes building out a platoon going up against the Locust. I'm pretty sure it's the Swarm, but like they're going up against the Locust Horde. The graphics are awesome. And for me, someone who is not very good at tactical games like XCOM, or, you know, my speed is like Mario versus Rabbids, this splits the difference perfectly, because when you use a move like Overwatch and it puts the whole cone of vision in front of you, they get multiple shots. So it's like the accuracy is perfect. So it feels like Gears of War, right? Like when guys are running at you and you've got your main character just mowing down like 3 or 4 guys until his clip is empty. When you're using Overwatch, it's crazy how well that XCOM formula translated over to this game. And the best part is this game runs so good. I'm running it at the high preset. I've got it locked to 30 frames per second. I had the hardware monitor up. I did not see a single stutter in the 3 or 4 hours I played it in bed last night. And the battery drain is not bad at all. I am, of course, on the Steam Deck OLED, so I get better battery life than the LCD, but I wasn't plugged in bed, and I got a solid 2.5, 3 hours out of my Steam Deck before it gave me the 10% battery warning. And the game is amazing. I have no qualms with this game other than the fact that you have to log into the Xbox services, and I'm pretty sure if I take it outside of my house, it's going to break that Xbox Live thing. Maybe I'll test that for another video, but once I logged in once, it stopped asking me to do it when I boot up the game. So take advantage of the sale of this game. It's on sale for I think like $6, $5 or $6 right now on Steam. If you're into XCOM or you're into Gears of War, it's kind of like the perfect game because it'll be a fun romp for an XCOM player. But if you want that classic Gears style where it's a lot more gritty and violent, a little bit darker, like a lot of the levels take place at night, it's very machismo and very like war movie-esque, I think it's going to do a lot for you as a Gears of War fan. But yeah, in the meantime, I think I'm going to keep chipping away at this Gears of War PC port. Like I'm right there. I have it installed. I've got all the dependencies figured out. I just need to figure out how to get it to launch without asking for a DVD. A lot of you guys are really smart. So if you have any tips, please let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, before I end this video, I met a lot of people at the Summer Game Fest Xbox Showcase thing who love this channel. Like it's surprising because my PlayStation channel gets like exponentially more views and I have like 200,000 subs over there. Not a single person I talked to knew me from my PlayStation channel, but I'm pretty sure I talked to like 15 or 20 different people who all came up to me and told me they like Deck Ready. And I see the other comments. I'm a little slow to upload here. I am a little bit neglectful. That is all changing. Expect at least 2 videos a week on this channel as long as there's news. I'm not going to fill it with fluff or anything like that. I'm going to try to work my way out a little bit from news and come up with some videos that are a little more technical, maybe a little more fun. But yeah, I really appreciate the support on this channel because like I said at the beginning of the video, it's like my hobby channel. It's not something I do for work. It's something I do after work. When I'm done with PS Ready or I'm done making thumbnails for other channels, I get to kick back, come up with the Steam Deck video, and really have some fun recording it, talking about Steam Deck with all you guys. So if you're a supporter, I just really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me because I care very deeply about this channel. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're having a great weekend. If this video goes up during the weekend, I don't know when it's going to go up. I'm sorry. But yeah, as always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.